Hey everyone, I'm Alexander Lee, GamesBeat's lead news writer, and I'm here in LA for the GamesBeat Hollywood and Games Summit with Magali Huot, the SVP of Global Gaming Strategy at Dentsu. Thanks for coming, Magali.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
I hope I pronounced your last name correctly, by the way.
Yes.
I did my best.
You did, absolutely. Don't even overthink it.
So Magali helps lead the gaming strategy at Dentsu, which is one of the big marketing agencies. If you're in this industry, you're probably familiar with Dentsu, and you're probably familiar with Dentsu's work in gaming. I'm a huge fan of the work that you guys are doing in gaming and other gaming adjacent areas like anime. I really believe of the big agencies, Dentsu is one of the leaders in this space. And so I'm just so glad to have you on the podcast and learn a little bit more about you and your work.
Thank you so much.
So to get started, let's talk about you a little bit. What was your pathway into this role, both into marketing and into this specific world of gaming marketing?
Yeah, thank you for asking. It's funny because my first step into this industry has not been in marketing. I actually found gaming first. I always like to say that I started my career at age 6 when I picked up my first video game. That was Streets of Rage on the Sega Genesis. And I was completely hooked. And from that moment, I knew that my career would orbit around games to capacity. And frankly, when I was younger, I thought, I'm going to work in the creative world. I'm going to be in the production side. And I realized two things really fast. One, I did not have the artistic talent. And two, I thought that maybe I was a little bit too nerdy and too much into the data that I needed to do something with it. So I found what I figured was the next best thing. And to me, that was marketing and really just having that creative piece that's led with data. But that's really how I got to be in this space.
So was there, and no pressure on this, but was there any moment when you really realized, okay, games are a big opportunity for brands and a growing opportunity? When did that click for you?
Yeah, it clicked for me very early on, especially because very early on, I got very much questioned about, are you a real gamer? A lot of times early in my life and early in my career, everyone would ask me that. And so why I'm saying that and why this question makes me think of it is because I think that the definition of a gamer is so stigmatized that I figured there needs to be something that happens between non-endemic gaming brands and gaming brands to showcase that this is actually not the case. It doesn't have to be so stigmatized. And billions of people games every day.
Yeah.
And whether they want to identify as a gamer or not, And I think to me, that was that realization that why are we just trying to put ourselves in a box when things are happening and we don't need them to actually identify as to be meaningful. So I made it my mission to try and connect brands and gaming in a meaningful way to try and destigmatize that,
Okay, so this is, I'm going to go a little bit off track with this, but I love that answer. And I'm curious, what, not even in 2025, but over the entire course of your work at Dentsu, what are your favorite activations or campaigns that you worked on? And what do you feel helped advance this mission of kind of expanding what a gamer is to a wider audience?
Yeah, I think a lot has happened that have helped kind of broaden the notion of gaming and gamers. I'm going to talk about, very selfishly, one of the piece of work that we've published at Dentsu earlier this year. It's a campaign that we ran with the ad console about mental health. We created this Love Your Mind world on Roblox. And I think this was such a meaningful campaign for so many reasons. It's playing into, trying to provide more coping mechanism for younger audiences, and just providing a safe space to talk about emotions in the digital world. And also, the reason why I'm mentioning that in the context of how brands have stepped in is outside of the ad console and this amazing campaign that they have around Love Your Mind and mental health in general, we've had partners like Headspace step in to provide content for meditative purposes that we included directly into the gameplay experience.
Wow.
And then we had other partners with Elf and Paxson and Walmart step in to create custom digital avatar item that people could wear and just express themselves into that world. And I think it made it so relevant, and it just showcased that when you truly try to step in to feed into the player experience, you create magic. And you can be, I want to say any brand, but it needs to be relevant to the mission, right?
Yeah.
And it was highly relevant to what we were putting together. But to me, that's like one of my favorite campaign of 2025. And outside of that, I do have other campaigns that are not Dentsu led, but I also loved and I think that was this year, right? Like I also loved the Minecraft movie and McDonald's campaign that happened, where
That was awesome.
I think they just connected the dots so well in between digital to IRL, creating values for players in the game, bringing everyone back to the game, but also just really fun stuff in real life. So yeah.
Yeah, and I want to go back to that the Roblox campaign that you mentioned that you guys worked on earlier this year, because I think that's a great example of showing up in a way that is constructive to players. They feel like they're getting something out of it. I mean, I wanted to turn that around to you. I mean, is that accurate? Did players respond well to this? And
Yeah.
I'm just curious how that response was and what kind of traffic you got as a result of this campaign.
So this campaign did not get a lot of immersive advertising to bring people back into the game space. Yep. It was a lot of earned, and we saw an amazing traffic within the first few weeks. I think we had over 600,000 players stepped into the world. Again, we wanted to make it a really safe space, so that was not the chat was not activated. Everything was anonymous, and I just think that it really helped players discover, again, our entire point was discover different ways of coping with different emotions. And so you had different parts of the world within that Love Your Mind experience that kind of gave you a variety of coping mechanism depending on certain emotions. But it was so wonderful.
Love that. So with this activation and the others that you've worked on in the past year, what are some big lessons or takeaways that you have gleaned in terms of how the space is evolving? I'm curious, looking back at 2024 to 2025, yeah, like just what kind of trajectory have you observed in the space?
Yeah, I think the big thing for me on the strategy side, especially one of the biggest takeaway of 2025 is that we need to think outside the gaming box. It goes back to what I was talking about earlier in terms of, the gamer definition is very stigmatized. So for brands, if you go outside of the gaming box, that's really where the opportunity lies. Mm-hmm. It's thinking about the fan and the entertainment journey instead. And the moment you can really zoom out and meet people at that level, the level of motivations versus the label of gaming, everything can get sharper. The strategy gets sharper, the storytelling, and the funnel for integration. It helps us not only destigmatize the notion of a gamer, but also just approach the strategy through the lens of motivation. And so to me, that's like the biggest takeaway. One is we need every single brand to have an integrated gaming strategy. And two, we need to think beyond the gamer's persona. And everyone who works with me knows that I'm highly allergic to talking about gaming personas. I don't think they're applicable anymore.
Yeah.
Or approaching an audience, from a demographic standpoint, I don't think this is applicable anymore. I think it's just thinking about how do they consume the content and where are they at, again, in that entertainment journey? What are we learning from their motivation and how do we tap into it in a meaningful way?
So I love that answer. And I think there's a really interesting tension here that I've observed. And this has to do with another question I was planning to ask, which is, yes, every brand should have a dedicated gaming strategy right now. But to your point, there's also this growing understanding that there's no such thing as like a stereotypical gamer, in the same way that there's no such thing as a stereotypical television watcher or a stereotypical podcast listener. Someone who consumes games is just a person of any demographic bucket who happens to be interested in this form of media.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in mind, as we go into 2026, are games still a valid sort of niche form of marketing that exists separately, or are they really just another screen like any of the other screens that we have learned to advertise on over the last decade?
There is so many ways to answer that question. I feel like there is so much we can talk about just on that point.
Let's do it.
So is gaming, I'm going to start with the latter. Is gaming another screen? Absolutely not. Gaming is I think there are different ways to express your fandom. And I'm going to keep coming back to fandom because when we talk about motivation and when we talk about how the audience interact with gaming, it's just one stop within the broader entertainment journey. And sometimes you might be in the passive state where you just want to lean back and consume content. And in that case, you might go to, your TV and to a content that you can consume in that way. For gaming, you need to lean in, right? You need to lean in. It's an active participation, regardless of how you want to play, regardless if you want to play alone or with your friends, or, if you're a competitive player or a cozy gamer, it doesn't matter. You're in an active state.
Right.
So it's absolutely not just another screen. It's a different way to approach it. And then remind me the first part of your question on that. You said,
is gaming so because it's, and this goes to broader conversations I've been having with people in the agency and the brand space at events like Advertising Week, which, the big advertising conference that happened in New York a couple months ago. There was a dedicated gaming summit at Advertising Week, which was very exciting to some people, but also a source of consternation among other people who thought that it was holding gaming back to be put into this niche rather than just being included alongside every other form of inventory on the main stage. And I guess that's the root of the first part of the question.
Yeah. Niche, trigger word, right? Gaming is not niche. That's funny because there are still stereotypes. So sometimes when clients approach us and, they don't say anymore, we want to be in gaming. They say, how can we meaningfully be there and create engagement and tie back to our KPIs, right? So everyone has understood the breadth and the importance of the space. It is not niche though, and it touches everybody. And again, that's like going back to the definition of a gamer. It's figuring out, how do we reach the right audience at the right time? I think that thinking about it in the context of inventory and media plans, because you just touched on that. It's thinking through, a lot of times client would think about like, oh, there is now immersive advertising on Roblox, or, there are ways to do intrinsic advertising format within, the Enzo inventory, the Overwolf and everything that Activision, Blizzard and King does on that front.
Yep.
And this is all fantastic for reach. However, this is not per se meeting every single goal that any client might have. And to drive incremental and compounding impact over time, you need to kind of broaden the way that you're thinking about where gaming fits. And you need to think about it as additional channels as part of your broader marketing funnel, instead of just, hey, we have an innovation budget and we want to do something with gamers on reach. And what can we do in display?
Right.
It's thinking through, no, I want to meaningfully engage with them. And also I want to do that consistently because gaming is a part of culture and I know I can reach my audience there. So where am I going to go, right? And I think that's where client can get it wrong sometimes because they expect something that can be repeatable, very much like any other media plans, when you need to think about something that is custom. And custom doesn't mean one-off, right? It means you need to be always on in gaming, but in a way that is highly custom to your brand and how you can show up in the space. And that might be a custom world on Roblox. It might be a digital item or a custom integration in one of the worlds. Or it might be, an Overwolf campaign or whatsoever. But what I mean by that is there are so many tools in that broader gaming toolkit that we need to think about and consider as we are putting together strategies. And it goes back to you need an integrated gaming strategy to figure it out.
Fascinating. So, okay, this is a million-dollar question that I'm about to ask, but just to build on what you were saying, are there any forms of gaming inventory that you see rising, both looking back at 2025 and forward into 2026? What are the trends that you observe in terms of clients' preferences?
Yeah, I think so. More broadly, as I'm thinking about today versus the past couple of years, right? There's been a huge shift towards UGC. Nothing is shocking there, right? We've seen platforms like Roblox and Fortnite, even Meta Horizons that are growing.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, most brands were still thinking in terms about of media in games, in terms of display and banners and all of that stuff that I just talked about earlier. And now they're more understanding that they need to involve the community more, right? So when we think about UGC, we think about co-creation and co-authoring something together.
Yeah.
So it's almost thinking through how, as a brand, can I put together a playbook that gives enough creative freedom for my community to actually help me market and create more media integration in the way that makes sense. So it's the inventory today is so many things, right? It is those branded experience. It is those UGC toolkits that you can provide to the community. It is all of the virtual merch that you can do. It is also all of the immersive advertising campaign that you can set up. But I think that UGC-driven world that we live in has been the biggest shift in terms of how we think about using, media budgets in the context of gaming.
And I'm so glad that you really focused on creators when you're talking about this, because I think that to me is the biggest shift I've observed as brands understand the UGC opportunity, is an understanding that it is just a form of creator marketing, not that different from what we've seen on other platforms like YouTube or Instagram, for example. I'm curious, are you guys, as you push into UGC and UGC creators, is Dentsu borrowing from its influencer strategy? In general, tell me more about how you guys are adapting to the rise of UGC in this space.
Yeah. That's a great question. I feel like we need to talk about creators in the context of, I think everybody is a creator today. So
okay.
I think when you ask me that question, you think about like the big influencers, like, the campaigns that we're going to set up, and how brand would usually approach it in terms of, we need those talents to actually create campaigns for us. And while that's true, I think the new UGC spaces have showed that everybody is a creator. And there is different kind of creators, right? You have the creators of video content that you consume on YouTube and Twitch, and you have the creators of games, right? All of those amazing gaming creators on Roblox and on Fortnite UAFN and everything that's being done. And I think the reason why I say that is, yes, we absolutely work together with our creators team to better connect the dots. However, we think about it even, above and beyond the footprint of those creators, thinking that anyone and everyone is worth being celebrated in a way that's meaningful and that create more advocacy for a brand over the long run,
Love that. So, okay, this is a bit of a pivot, but we covered UGC, which is by far one of the top 2 buzzwords that has been discussed at industry events like this one this year. The top buzzword is AI.
Yes.
And so I would be remiss to not at least ask a question about how you guys are using AI and adapting to the rise of artificial intelligence, both within gaming and marketing.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. UGC and AI, they go together now, right?
Yeah.
On the AI side, I would say that the main use case for us has been insights and personalization. It really helps us stay grounded in players' behaviors and ethics, obviously, because we always want to make sure that, everything that we do is ethical. But in terms of personalization, the reason why I brought that up is we try and use it for more efficiencies to create more contextual content that is that would be more appealing to different type of gamers and audiences today.
I wanted to ask a few fun questions to wrap us up. So you said Streets of Rage is your kind of foundational first game.
Yeah.
Would you say it's still your favorite game?
Would you say your first love is still the most meaningful one? I would say so. It has a very special place in my heart. However, I was so in love with all of the Final Fantasy games and franchise, like after that it also is super meaningful to me. And today, I just can't let go of Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
Ooh.
I've been playing that game for so many months, and I do not want to end it. I just have a limited amount of time now to game, but when I do, I just cherish that moment, and I do that on my own. And yeah, Clair Obscur is just so wonderful.
And you told me you're going to be at the Game Awards later today, so yeah. I'm imagining you cheering on Clair Obscur.
Yes.
I'm expecting big things from them today,
Yeah.
so we'll see. By the time this comes out, I might look like a fool. What was the last piece of really great gaming content you consumed? And it could be a game, but when I say gaming content, I mean just anything related to gaming. A YouTube video, a podcast,
Yeah.
a UGC experience.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things. One, I am an avid listener to Kathy Ackle's podcast on Adweek. She covers everything from AI to gaming, and it's always so insightful. I love it. However, when I consume content outside of actually playing games, I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I love the GTA 6 trailers breakdown.
Wait.
Because there are a lot of creators out there that are breaking down all of the trailers and are trying to find Easter eggs and conspiracy theories to kind of have some prediction about what the game is going to bring. And I just love watching them. I think it's just the passion of the community is awesome.
I love that. So you're going to be jumping on GTA 6 when it comes out next year. Okay.
I mean, won't you?
Oh, I think all of us will.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about that when it comes out. I'll be pinging you for your insights for sure. What are you most optimistic about for the future? When you look towards 2026 in gaming and in marketing, I think there's a lot of doom and gloom in this industry, and for some valid reasons. But I want to talk about what are the positives that you see coming down the pipeline?
I think that the shift to UGC is a huge positive. I think it's the shift of thinking about doing marketing in a different way. And I think modern marketing today is empowering the community, first and foremost. We talked about the fact that a creator could be anyone. Mm-hmm. And I get really energized thinking about more brands creating more ways to let the community carry their messages in a way that's authentic to the creators, first and foremost, So I get excited about empowering players,
Awesome. Yeah, players and creators, I mean, they're all parts of this ecosystem that are kind of converging. So awesome that you guys are across that. Well, I think that's the end of our time. So I'll wrap us up there. But thank you again, Magali, and thank you for sharing all of these insights about yourself and Dentsu for the big show.
Thank you so much for having me.